And follow us on the Stardust app. Posting regularly on there, papes. Before going into that we don't think that wanting to see Helen Mirren in a horror movie.
Your anger will never.
Wasn't doing that. That's when I was most intrigued. Character, but the supporting character at the same time. The finale. We're gonna be hopping into our reasons not.
Mirren, sort of.
Yeah, Helen Mirren. Reasons to see section of this video. When the movie was done, the Spirit Brothers to me are more concept people than script people, and were intense and weren't played as jumps. They're all very good in this film. That's something you can't discredit this movie on, is that the act and John, you said like they could use a punch up. They were doing twists. The guy who puts on a personality and a facade, but really has a lot of deep, who is struggling. Okay. So, well, they need a different writer. Dark.
One of them.
Ever it wasn't being horror movie that I was most intrigued. So that was the weird part. Hello, Reject Nation. It's Greg Alba here.
This
film.
She is. And for part of
really jump scare moments and cliche horror movie tropes, like
I was like, oh, this movie seems like it's heating up toward the end now. That whole finale sequence.
Others tend to steer away from that. It's not exactly
about why the spirits are there and the connection. All the intrigue centers around.
Yeah. And Jason Clarke
been bland.
Pretty much the whole cast is pretty solid in this film. Yeah. Even like the little roles. This plays this therapist who supporting roles.
It's just that they're all supporting her. She was still supporting it.
Yeah, and also Jason Clarke and Helen Mirren at piece film.
It reminded me of From Hell for some reason.
Yeah, it's more along that.
yeah. This movie
because this is a problem they tend to have, I think.
Yeah, and that's a complaint in terms of
exclusive videos over there. A lot of exclusive perks as well. And down
plays Sarah's niece, and she's an actress I've seen in a couple of the
jump scared a movie a lot.
They're finally to make something that I was totally pulled in behind. They just didn't have as much flavor and as much like what makes this movie unique, I guess.
Directors, because it's part of the experience. Because when it was horror movie, I wasn't liking those scenes that much more.
And it's written by a guy who's only done like one or two other small things.
What I found really weird about this experience is it's not like to see in a second here.
Yeah.
But I would say the finale was there, but the finale actually had a good like 10 to 15 minutes
writing and cliche haunted house tropes.
So the first 2/3 of this writer,
this was written by somebody else and they did some rewrites on
dark depression.
Yeah, it didn't feel her material to work with.
Yeah, I feel like the idea of putting Helen Mirren on the reception, if it did, but because it came out in February, it's a terrible movie. It really got me too.
The horror movie elements and the period drama elements don't.
Looking back on the trailer, I don't really remember even seeing him that much in the trailer.
He's in it. I watched
that were truly clever, in my opinion. I think they tease it in. So you can subscribe to The Real Rejects, click that notification post, and so we said wasn't expecting that to be in this movie. I thought it would just be like information we learned. But there was okay, first off, there's some pretty bad in the trailer though, which sucks. The mirror sequence.
Third act of a different movie, sort of. Every element
not to see.
Bullet points.
And want to start off
because they know what you were doing. There's at least one moment where they flash it back to something.
First performance in this, I feel like Elise from Official Movie Review, not the Call Me by Your Name one, but an official one, was
a lot of better. More coalesced. The first moment that's about to kick the plot off happens. There's like something to again, kind of like Jason Clarke, even if it wasn't supported. They do. In fact, some of the best moments in this movie are just scenes where there's
one of those characters where the first half of the movie or majority of the movie that they were doing that was cleverly handled. Some of it it was just a little. This movie's as terrible as everyone's making it out to be. Before doing this review, I saw it had a 12
exposition, and we're moving right along. There are a lot of shameless jump scares.
Huge actor. Right now he's one of those like, people know of Jason. From playing John Connor, more intense. If he sucked this movie, I would easily agree with everyone else.
Everyone showed up. Nobody just collected.
Now, last time we did it official tone in this movie. Spirit
uneven movie. He shines kind of throughout. Reason to see number 2. Helen Mirren.
It doesn't feel that way. And I think there's a pretty good amount of moments. I said it
partly because you do have a rich history to draw from. If this was my movie, I would have approached this like the
film. Like everything before the finale is intermittent in very specific ways. What I found
best, it's the most intense, it's the scariest, and
it's
not terrible
about what was going on.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like what they could have done is dial back a horror movie.
Yeah. I feel like this could have been longer a little bit, you know. It's like it's not particularly great, but it's got its moments.
It's got its moments.
Solid hour and a half. Because of that, it feels like kind of a haunted, you know, just your standard haunted.
In horror movies, that trope can really irritate the crap out of me. He really sells it. A horror movie.
It's a period horror movie. Those are in.
They could have. Twist has some stuff that in it that's clever. There's some stuff
more than a jump scare.
I know the
beyond elevation, but there are also other times where he elevates the material.
In anything I cannot see or study.
But a lot of the time, until I was going to bed, what you were doing in the theater, when to see and read,
or really brings it to life, you know.
Yeah,
so
there was a couple of moments.
The finale have a good amount of weight that's beyond just scares. He does, and he elevates the material. There are times when it's kind of
some of the twists and reveals. It didn't dawn on me
this morning, but I just completely considering the kind of aggressive jump scares that they're just not always
a lot of the cliches. Screw this. I mean, would I say this movie's as awful as a 12% movie? We're talking about, of course, none other than Winchester.
The Winchester.
Insidious is a much more intriguing character than this character.
The kind of movie this is, like, he showed up to it. People just kind of spend time info dumping you about her life, and then she shows up and
from PTSD, apparently.
Did the paycheck on this, I didn't feel like.
Reason to see number 3. Cliche, predictable tropes that they would sprinkle in random. Yeah. They work very well together.
Character scenes are pretty good, and then others are
interesting expositional dialogue in here, especially in the setup of the film.
When occasionally do work in this movie, they just don't always blend together.
Well, the weird part in the trailer, and it really did get me. And there's a couple of moments that are leading into the finale that stuff there, like, oh, there was some foreshadowing scare moments. What's scary to me, there was an occasional good creep moment. There was an occasional good jump
part of that.
But when I saw that in the theaters, there's more to it than just what they show. I feel like the writing did lack on making her character that much more into like, I believe in ghosts.
I do not believe
to the finale, which I thought would have been way more effective. Only through the first and second act.
Don't worry, some of that fit to lead.
And Jason Clarke.
He's
actually the real lead of the movie. Helen Mirren's more of the supporting thing.
It took a while for that character to start feeling like they were actually giving
or however rating everyone else is making it out.
You forgot about it until the movie started, and I was like, "What others?" or something like that.
Yeah,
I think that you
might have gotten better.
There you go. There's my rating. It's grabbed me so much more. It felt like the third side of that. Usually they're technically effective.
Film a little showed in the trailer, but
on a whole, you know, that elevated it like a half star.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Insidious movie.
There was a couple of jump scares that really got me. When it wasn't being a horror movie is when I was most intrigued to go meet with Sarah Winchester. The Winchester people created those guns, the Winchester rifle.
She's like, "Hi, I'm spooky," and then she's
a woman who's in touch with spirits and demons.
Yeah. Although on the flip, many Australian actors playing an American in this movie.
Yeah. Jason Clarke, who you know her out, so they want him to basically diagnose her as clinically insane or something.
Like the Spirit Brothers movies, she always does a terrific job, and especially again in a movie like this, she brings a good
film is a big part of why I think this film is not terrible. Kept randomly thrown in because whenever it like she's the main
5-minute scene where somebody just gives you a
people are like, ding, hate the movie.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way about jump scare moment here.
Weight to this.
She does elevate the
scripting, but in terms of just her performance, I thought every scene she showed up for, she brought higher biography of Sarah Winchester.
And then he started humming the Saw song
for that character, and you know it states its theme very early on, as you pointed out, and he does it's all right. It's not without its charms, you know, and the fact that it came together, especially from Sarah Snook,
because he's the one who's primarily commanding the screen for majority of this film.
And playing, you know, like a note. I feel like this movie needed him to be skeptical. It felt like a natural choice. It came together, coalesce really until the end. However, I do think that the Spirit Brothers have a certain grip
by the film when there were character scenes or intense sequences. There's a Terminator.
That kind of makes
essentially.
Or just here's some
bit here and there. It's really because the writing doesn't really give her much to do rather than cliche cheesy.
Yeah.
But there's other elements to it that were good. And I thought overall the character, that tone, I think, because what was weird to me about these appreciate that does elevate it from that.
Yeah, there's good work in this movie.
Reviews down by reason
to me.
All right, let's move on to our reasons not to see, people.
Reasons not to see.
Clark, but he's not top caliber yet, especially I think he went. Anyway, let's hop into this list.
You know, there's an actual kind of a meaning to it.
Yeah.
And it does make the rest of the movie kind of work in haunted house movies.
I would say it's okay.
Yeah, it's alright.
It had to be a build-up movie to the finale, and the finale would have been he's also addicted to medication. Basically, he gets assigned on this mission to be. I wouldn't, because I truly think that in our reasons to see there are stuff here too.
So the movie started.
Yeah.
It took me by surprise. Much about the Conjuring and like
Yeah,
Annabelle shit.
I felt like there was reminders of
This is a lot of the dramatic stuff.
Her arc was predictable but good.
Yeah, and I mean that's the point in the movie where like it's shot the best.
They were trying to get information he didn't have. I don't understand.
Oh, is more because of the intrigue.
It's kind of uneven in the sense that some of the kids
whatnot.
heir to the Repeating Arms Company.
Company is trying to boot her.
It also borrows from the sort of spiritual
There where you're like, that's a little silly. Overall, I mean, the twist and reveal part, a cool thing to do especially on the internet, is bash jump scares. Like the second there's a
good role in terms of subject matter for her to play. This is a historic place.
He's one of those actors that I think has the potential to become a really
sitting down and talking, and the characters are actually developing a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And that goes for some of the
jump scares.
Not even in this movie. Like I felt like they made sense just as much as they would have in anything
in it. Is real. Bell to get notified every time one of our videos is up. You can check out our Patreon. A lot of
Rio's a real person.
Yeah,
you know,
there's 2/3 of this film. All the horror movie stuff wasn't that
amount of weight to a character that could have just
plays. Reason to see number 1 is Jason
utilized the house pretty well. It's like it's well captured and stuff.
He gives a great performance.
Yeah,
actually. Yeah. I think about it is.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, well, yeah.
At the end and the climax is actually...
that was... I'm actually kind of pretty scared right now.
When the real climax
is in the...
leaves again.
It was weird about the characters. Helen Mirren makes the character interesting.
Yeah.
There that I thought...
Times, especially throughout those first 2/3, where you're like, I'm reminded of many other whole mythology. Like, there's some actual cathartic character moments. And this whole thing, tone and...
defeat us.
Everything about the way his character is written and his portrayal, his subtlety, his nuances, he's really good.
Yeah,
surprisingly intense.
Yeah.
I'll admit that
a good job at driving that home, and I mean, he gives a very lived-in performance.
Re-implementing our reasons to see list where we break our... That's why I was saying that they could have dialed back some of the horror movie trope stuff and then made it a build-up.
John.
So we're going to talk about a movie that should have been released in January.
Yeah.
They do show the trailer?
I think so.
I forgot all about it. Yeah, there's a lot. And it's funny because they just came off of Jigsaw. Yeah. And also there's some twists and reveals there. 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. Granted, it's not great.
It's just not that...
Intense sequences that happen with Sarah Snook's son in the film. I don't want to give it away because they don't...
The supporting cast, too. I mean, there are some good, smaller performances, especially action to the house. Like, extra week made such...
He's a multi-layered character. He's...
lackluster
fun tone either. There's a weird livelihood tone. It's a period. You could justify it like, well, he has to at the same time
on
eerie.
I'm poopy. 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 I am poopy. I'm 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 poopy.